Because the night before, at 2:17 in the morning, every kid woke up, got out of bed, walked downstairs, and into the dark, and they never came back. I think it should say they ran into the dark.
Maybe.
I think maybe
It
they
did.
fucked it.
Oh, IMDb quotes are terrible.
IMDb does wrong on this one.
Well, either way, welcome to the Mind Your Movies podcast. I'm Ryan.
I'm Shane.
And today we're talking about the movie that the IMDb quotes are getting wrong,
Maybe.
but the critics are maybe getting right, which is Weapons.
Yeah, the new Zach Cregger, this awesome horror movie, kind of knocked my socks off.
Yeah, I kept my socks on actually, but it was pretty awesome.
It was real stinky in my theater. My
Did
socks were blown off, and I hadn't showered in years. It was real
Man.
brutal. Real
Wow.
brutal.
Shane takes the dogs out in the theater. That's insane.
Real embarrassing. Oh my god, we forgot the hot dogs.
Oh,
I was
again.
gonna make the hot dogs for this episode. All right, any idea I have for an episode that completely falls apart?
Well, you know what though? Well, we can talk more about it later, but maybe we were just talking about doing something else. We might be able to do hot dogs during that.
Oh yeah, for next week's episode we could do something. Yeah, that's true.
We're gonna have to sit through talking about two. If anyone doesn't know, we're going off the rails already. But next week we were talking about the bottom 250 list on Letterboxd, and we've picked Cats. Shane picked Cats, and I picked the new War of the Worlds movie. So we have some schlock to talk about next week. So we may end up doing that, maybe with some hot dogs or. Maybe even with some alcohol or something. We'll see.
Maybe some chili dogs. Make me shit my pants. Also, every episode ends up. I've been bringing up shitting my pants recently.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Recurring theme on the pod. But
nobody looked too far into that.
Liam Neeson has that effect on me, especially shitting my pants.
Oh man.
But yeah. Anyway, this week we're talking about Weapons. So for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, I mean, should we talk? Maybe at the beginning, we'll give our general thoughts on the movie without any spoilers. And then later on, we're going to get full in-depth spoiler discussion. So if you haven't seen the movie, I think we both really liked it and would recommend it. But yeah, stick around until we give our spoiler warning. But yeah, should be fun.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a good idea. At this point, the movie's been out for a little bit. In fact,
like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I guess about 2 weeks, but 2 weeks as of when you guys are watching this. I think it should have released exactly 2 weeks ago. But yeah, I mean, I think there's been a lot of hype around the movie. It's kind of getting a lot of attention, which is awesome, and it's really drawing a lot of people to the theaters. Just in terms of, so it was made on a $38 million budget, and its domestic opening weekend made $45 million. And for a horror movie, that's incredible. And currently, I think I just saw the box office is at like 160 something million as of 2 weeks out. So it is doing really well. I think if you're jumping onto this episode to decide if you should watch it or not, I think we just both say, yeah, like go see it in a theater even. Like the theater experience for this movie, I feel like this year we're getting a lot of good theater experiences, and this is definitely one that I think has benefited from the theater. But also, if you're watching this and it's like, I don't know, September or whatever, yeah, get it on streaming and just watch it and then finish up the episode because, I think whether you like it or not, which honestly, I'd be kind of surprised if you don't, but whatever. Everyone has their own tastes, but I think it's worth watching for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely worth watching, and it's pretty. It's very entertaining. It is scary and tense at times, but also it can be really hilarious. There are a lot of very funny moments, and it's very thrilling as well. It's not sort of a slow burn type of horror movie. It's almost like it has thriller elements, and like I said, the comedy, and also the sort of nonlinear structure of the movie, I think keeps it like interesting and unique just for an audience. Another factor that keeps it intriguing. So I think it has like something to appeal to a lot of different people.
Definitely. I would agree with that for sure. And one thing that I think is also just a good heads up to people, because we talked recently in the last episode, even we talked about trailers, because last episode we were lucky enough to talk about The Naked Gun. And we talked a little bit about how trailers kind of ruin some of those jokes. And here, I think I don't actually remember if I've seen a full trailer for this or if it was just a teaser, but I'll say all I knew going in was pretty much revealed really quickly in the movie. I'll say,
Like the first 5 minutes,
yeah, it's
they they explain the premise, and then the movie you have no idea where the movie's going from there. I think they did a really good job marketing this and not spoiling anything.
100% agree because going into it, I was a little nervous. I was like, I don't know a whole lot, but if for example, if the kids went missing 3/4 away into this movie, that'd be pretty annoying because
Yeah.
the thing that everyone knows, it's on the poster, it's in the trailer, it's everywhere about this movie, is it's literally in the show times. The first night that this movie released, on that Thursday, the first show times were 2:17 p.m., which is funny. Um, but yeah, so it's everywhere, right? Everyone knows the kids are going to go missing, so they just get that out of the way right away, and pretty much from then on, I knew nothing, and it was I think every step of the way, it was pretty awesome to learn a little bit more, and then kind of learn it from a maybe even a different perspective and learn more from what that person was thinking and seeing, right? And continue to unravel this mystery.
Yes, exactly. It's just a great hook. Like there's mystery there. You don't know what's going on. Why would this happen? You know what I mean? Like it's very. It just catches your curiosity, gets your attention. So I think it's pretty smart way to sell a movie, but also just when you're watching the movie, they explain to you the basic premise, and you're like, how the fuck did this happen? What's going on? Why did this happen? How did this happen? And as you learn more and more, I found it actually very satisfying, uh, which I think maybe that is part of the reason some people are not as happy with the movie is they didn't like just the direction it goes. But anyway, we'll get into that in the spoiler warning. But I was thoroughly satisfied with the movie. I was there's scenes that are super tense and creepy, and I also laughed out loud several times. And the ending is awesome. I think it really sticks the landing, and you'll cheer, you'll laugh, maybe you'll cry. I didn't cry exactly, but that's okay. But it's possible. It does have a lot of thematic depth as well. I think this movie, like, it works on both those levels where it's an entertaining, crowd pleasing movie, but also it has, I think, a lot of different ways you can interpret like what's going on in the movie. Uh, and yeah, we can get more into that in spoilers as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with those though. And just before we jump into spoilers too, I think it's good to note just that the score and the cinematography for this movie, I think, were like two of the highlights for me. I think there's a lot of really, really cool shots of tracking shots where there's someone, for example, there's one shot where someone's being followed and it's a tracking shot face on with them. And every time they turn, you can kind of see somebody's following them, but they're kind of in the periphery. But then every time that this person turns a corner, the camera obviously follows them in the tracking shot. And then you lose sight of that person following them for a split second. And then they come back into the shot and then they turn again. And so it is really tense moment built up just from the cinematography, in kind of what is like a deceptively simple shot, but because of the way they put everything together, it worked so well. And there's cool shots where like they clearly attach the camera to like a door or something as the door opens, and so having some of that like natural movement in the camera also helped build some tension and also just provide some really. I feel like every shot in this movie is like creepy in its own right. So it was
Yeah,
and also Zach Cregger was a big part in the score of the movie. So I don't know how big, but he's credited as part of the music
yeah.
team. So
So I believe it's like him and two of his friends. I think I don't know how when he maybe knew them growing up or like he's known them for many years, and I think they're in a band together and they make music together, and so I think the three of them like collaborated to make the music for the movie. But yeah, the music is very effective, uh, and also I think just the writing and all the characters have a lot of depth, and they're I mean, some characters have more depth than others, I guess. Like obviously that's the case for any movie. As you get to less important characters, you know less about them. But I mean, mainly like Justine and Archer, who are the two like pretty much the two lead characters played by Julia Garner and Josh Brolin. I think they have really fascinating character, uh, just the way their characters are. I don't know, the way we slowly learn more about them and, what the reasons that they do what they do and what's going on beneath the surface with each of them. I think they get more complicated and interesting. And even like the side characters, like Alden Ehrenreich plays Paul, who's a police officer and ex-boyfriend. Well, I don't know if this is whatever. I think it's fine to say ex-boyfriend of Justine. You learn that pretty quickly on, but
Yeah.
but uh, yeah, you learn that probably like 15 minutes in, so it's not a spoiler. But but yeah, he's really good in the movie, and his character is super interesting, and just pretty much the whole cast, like without getting too
Yeah.
much depth right now, just like a bunch of really great performances, from everyone, and all the characters are very well written, and with the way the story is told, the way things intersect and the way characters intersect in their own stories is very interesting. But yeah, I guess we can talk more about that in the spoilers.
Yeah. I think maybe the only other thing I have in terms of non-spoilers would just be just that obviously Cregger did Barbarian and is set to do a Resident Evil movie, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty like after seeing, I actually really liked Barbarian. I know that there's kind of mixed thoughts on that one, and
Yeah,
I think
Barbarian's great.
Barbarian's great. Also recommend. But and I think generally the consensus seems to be that Weapons is a step above Barbarian, and I agree with that. And I don't think a Resident Evil movie can be as good as Weapons, but I am excited to see what they end up doing with it because Resident Evil is a really cool IP, and I think there's a lot that you can do there, especially with such a talented filmmaker. So
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I have you seen the Resident Evil movies? Any of them?
maybe bits and pieces, but not a full movie. No.
Okay. I've seen, so there's like five of them, I think. And I've seen the first one, and I remember thinking this was many years ago, but I remember thinking it was absolutely awful. Like I remember thinking it was really, really terrible. And so obviously I never watched like more of the movies. But but just it being Zach Cregger, and I heard a little bit of an interview with him, like, sort of explaining that he is a really big fan of the game series, and it did give me like hope for this movie. And so yeah, obviously I think Weapons is a pretty high bar, uh, and I mean I don't know if there's ever been a movie based on a video game as good as Weapons, probably not, but but still. I think the new Resident Evil will be cool. And apparently he has like some other stuff cooking, like some other scripts he's written
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So definitely director that I'm super like definitely gonna follow his career and excited to see what he does next.
Yeah, I would totally agree. So, I think as a Resident Evil game fan, it makes me excited to know that he's a fan of the games because I think a lot of times video game movies are maybe just thrown together by a big studio and not really a lot of thoughts put into what you're actually building, right? And it's just because you can capitalize on the name, right? Like the Uncharted movie, right, or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
and so hopefully this will be a true maybe one of the first true video game movies that actually is inspired by the video game more
Mm.
more in depth than just by title and reputation.
Maybe, yeah. And there's a couple, like there's also Alex Garland is doing Elden Ring. He's like
That's
writing an Elden Ring movie. And what's the uh Hideo Kojima is making like a Death Stranding movie with A24, I think. So I
cool.
feel like there's some cool video game movies potentially in the next couple of years.
That's pretty cool. I think maybe we're at that time where it's time for video game movies to actually have a place in like talked about cinema, right? Because I feel like Silent Hill and Resident Evil and Tomb Raider and
Hmm.
Uncharted, like they're just movies that get made, they make some money maybe, and then they get forgotten, right?
Yeah, there hasn't been like a movie based on a video game that's like transcended the video game. I think
Right.
it's yeah. So, you know, yeah, the Assassin's Creed movie was not good, did not like that. I watched that one. Most of these movies, honestly, I just haven't seen.
Yeah.
And also I haven't played most of these games either. So like I haven't Resident Evil maybe I've played like years and years, like when I was a kid, but I've never actually played through a whole Resident Evil game. But I'm still down for a movie if it's Cregger.
Yeah, and that's, I think, also Resident Evil, I think, has a world that can be built on in a way where I think people that don't know the IP can still actually enjoy it if it's made correctly, right?
Yeah, I mean, I get the idea. It's a zombie game, right?
There you go, you're done.
And I know that Resident Evil was I think, an influence on Alex Garland for 28 Days Later, because Resident Evil, I believe, had like running zombies, or maybe like the dogs run in the game, like the early games. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know
something to
exactly,
do with, I think he played Resident Evil and was like, oh wow, it's like way scarier when they run at you, and then he like thought that would be good to put in the movie. Uh, so yeah, but anyway, Resident Evil movie will be cool.
yeah. But anyway, sorry, that's a little bit of a tangent, but just, again,
That's what
I think,
podcasts are for.
yeah,
The whole thing is a tangent.
we're here to talk. If you're not here to listen to us talk, go, go,
That's
go
the whole
listen to
point
other
of it.
people talk.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point of the podcast.
But yeah, again, I think we're excited. I think it sounds like we're both pretty excited about Cregger and whatever he's gonna do next. And I think we both just strongly recommend seeing Weapons. So I mean, it might just be time to move into, maybe should we do our ratings here and then move into?
Yeah, let's do our ratings now and get it over with. And I gave it a 9 out of 10, or whatever, 4.5 out of 5 stars.
That's it.
Yeah, just really knocked my socks off. Like I said, really stunk in the theater. And yeah, it's one of my favorite movies of the year so far. It'll certainly be. I don't know. Maybe at the end of the year we could do like a top 10 or something like that. Could be fun. But I can't imagine this not being on like a top 10 at the end of the year for me.
Awesome. That's awesome. I strongly agree that it's definitely up there in my top of the year. I did give it a 4 stars out of 5, but it's a high 4. And it's also one that I think it'll benefit from rewatching too, in a few ways that we can talk more about in spoilers maybe. But
Yeah.
I'm honestly just excited to see it again. Like, and that makes me feel like it's a great movie to recommend. So get out there, go watch it, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you look up a rating recap for Weapons, or no?
I did actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do that now. Why not?
Yeah.
So on Letterboxd, it's got 3.8 out of 5 as its average. IMDb has it at 7.9 out of 10. And Rotten Tomatoes knows what's up. They've got 94% for their critic score and 86% for the audience score. And we can talk a little about maybe why some of that might be there later, but brings it to an average of 8.375 out of 10. So right up there, just above 8, just below 8.5, I guess, in that range. So pretty good reviews.
I mean, makes sense. But you gave it basically an 8. I gave it a 9, right in the middle. I mean,
there we go.
So there you go.
We're pretty much the consensus.
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah. Not super interesting podcast. All right. Hot take: Weapons is trash. I was offended by Weapons. I mean, come on. What, in 2025, you're gonna make a movie called Weapons? That's just so offensive, you know.
Hard agree. Yeah.
We just turn it to hot take merchants, try to get some clicks.
Yeah. Everything we talk about, we just say the opposite of what the consensus is.
Yeah. There's always people like that. Like, what was the movie? Oh, it was War of the Worlds, I believe, the new one with Ice Cube. It had literally a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, and then like one guy gave it like a thumbs up, and it kind of probably goes the other way, where it's something will have 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and then there'll just be one guy who's like, yeah, this sucks for whatever. And it's definitely possible that they are being genuine and giving their genuine opinions, but I think there are also critics and whatever. I mean, when you're on the internet, you need attention. I just watched Highest to Lowest, and that's part of what the movie's about, is that attention is what is currency nowadays, and a good way to do it is just by saying outlandish, ridiculous things.
Yeah, I mean, also, like, think about if you're looking at reviews, right? If you're just scrolling through and you're just seeing, 4s and 5s, you're like, yeah, I get it. Like, I'm there, and then you see a 1 star and you're like, wait a second.
Yeah,
look at that.
Yeah,
it makes sense. I mean, I think obviously we want to be giving genuine opinions here, but it does make sense that people maybe feel inclined to do that, because that's what's going to get people to click on it. And what is it called? There's a name, like rage bait, right? Online, when you just post something stupid that like nobody would agree with, right? To get people to interact. But
That's fair. Although I will say I just gave Eddington like 1 star on my letterbox, so maybe. But from the to me, I'm obviously I know that was my I genuinely had a miserable time watching the movie in the theater, but someone from the outside might think I'm also being a bad actor. It's like, oh, this guy, you gave it 1 star. Like, come on, that's ridiculous. But that was when I genuinely that was
Oh,
how I
Shane.
genuinely react to the movie, right? So maybe I'm doing that to other people. Maybe these people are being genuine.
Yeah, or you're exposing the fact that we rage baited for Eddington.
No, we did not. I was the one who was given rage by Eddington
Yeah.
and sitting in the damn movie theater. I whatever. We don't have to. I don't know why I brought up Eddington. I was about to go on an Eddington rant again. I haven't wanted to walk out of a movie theater that much in years. I mean, I saw movie 43 in the theater, and I laughed and had a better time than when I watched Eddington. Did you movie 43? Hugh Jackman. He has like a ball sack on his chin. Hilarious. Better,
Yeah,
funnier than anything in Eddington.
yeah. If
Right,
you're,
now I'm being a little ridiculous.
I don't think Eddington's even in theaters anymore. But if it is, and you're like, should I see Weapons or Eddington? Hopefully, this is like the final push you needed to see Weapons instead.
God.
Get your
Weapons is 30 minutes shorter and like 30 times more interesting.
yeah, and like 100% more entertaining.
Oh my God, yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
Anyway, so I think we're gonna move
I need
into
to
a
stop bringing up
spoiler.
Eddington because I'm just gonna piss people off, and then now I'm all annoyed because I'm like, oh yeah, I spent 2.5 hours of my life watching that, and then I feel bad. People, people tried their best in that movie. You know what I mean? And like Joaquin Phoenix and Emma Stone are two of my favorite actors working today, and they did their best and they tried, and I know people tried to make it a good movie.
But we're about to. I just want to point out that we're gonna watch the bottom 250. We're gonna watch movies from the bottom 250 of Letterboxd, and you cannot use the excuse of they tried when we talk about this.
I'm gonna, because
Yeah,
I
well,
feel bad.
I mean, obviously, right? I mean, it's people's jobs, and they make money from it, and they want to put out good stuff, right? And I mean, I'm sure we put out a podcast episode that most people would say was not that good. But we tried, and you know what?
Yeah.
I don't think that.
That's funny. There should be There should be like a letterbox for podcasts, and you can like give it. People are like 1 star. This guy didn't like Eddington. 1 star.
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be funny.
But yeah. Anyways,
But I think Cats could be good. It's very colorful, and what if the songs are catchy?
yeah. The problem with cats is, actually, I think the problem is just that they're cats.
Well, they don't really look like cats. They look like weird. I don't even know what they look like. Weird
Yeah.
humanoid cat creatures.
Yeah, that's the weird part. I think I don't know. I'm interested to watch it. Listen, I've already watched. I mentioned this to Shane before we even started the episode. I've already watched both the original World of Worlds and the 2005 Steven Spielberg World of Worlds to prepare to watch the 2025 World of Worlds. And I'm actually like I was looking it up before the episode, and there is a what's that company that makes like cap.
Oh, like Atlantic Rim and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget the name.
That company also made the same year, 2005. They made H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds. And I'm like, maybe I'll watch that before I watch the, just to like watch every possible thing I can to stall essentially. But, anyways, I think
Well, so the thing is too that like with War of the Worlds, there are certain things that I do know a little bit through osmosis on the internet that it seems to be a very cynical, like a lot of Amazon advertising in the movie, and obviously it's like an Amazon Prime like exclusive type of a thing, and so that pisses me off more. But Cats, I'm like, hey, maybe they really tried to make a piece of art, and even if it's a failure, maybe it'll. But I feel like War of the Worlds might be more enraging.
one thing I will say, and we have a whole episode talking about these things, but is that I feel like what we were talking about with the whole, rage bait stuff, I think the opposite can also be true where I think there is like a group think mentality thing that happens sometimes where like for some reason everyone on the internet latches on to the idea and then, and then it's like everyone kind of has to think that way or something. Like, I don't know. It's like hard for people to not think like that. And, And I think that happens sometimes for sure. And I think I'm always curious with those movies on like the bottom 250 letterbox. Like, are some of these movies that like are essentially just victims of groupthink? You know, I don't know.
Mm.
I'll say that we've seen some of the movies on there. Maybe we can even talk during that episode about other ones we've seen on there a little bit. But I would say most of those I would say are probably deserving of 250. The ones that I can think of from there. But
Yeah, I'd have to look. I'd have to look. We have
yeah,
to. We have to like maybe in the next couple of days before we record, we can pick the most accurate list of like the 250
yeah,
worst on Letterboxd, just because there's no like official list like the top 250,
yeah.
but and there's like a bunch of different people have their own lists and whatever. People update it at different intervals, I guess.
Right.
But yeah,
All right. Well,
back to
uh,
weapons.
let's go back to weapons. Let's jump into our spoiler section. So if you guys are here for no spoilers, this is a good time to pause the podcast, um, and jump out and watch the movie, and then come on back and join us for the spoiler discussion. Also, if you know people that have seen the movie already, feel free just to send this their way and say, "Hey, these guys have cool thoughts about the movie."
Yeah, there you go. And this would be funny. We should put the Ferris Bueller at the end of the post credits in Ferris Bueller when he's like, "What are you still doing here? Scram, get out of here!" Like go home. We should put that like during the at the end of, or the beginning of the spoiler section.
I'll see if I can find that.
You don't have to. We don't have to. But that's
Very
what I'm
funny.
saying. Hey,
Yeah,
Scram, get out of here! What are you still doing here?
that was it. Also, if you're listening on the podcast, that was actually from the movie. So just so you know.
Yeah.
And if you're watching on YouTube, shh. All right. All right. We're
What a
back.
movie.
It's yeah, it's spoiler time. This movie rocks.
Yeah, you just saw it like the other day. I saw this
Yeah.
like a week ago when it first came out. But yeah, I mean, okay, let's just get into it. At
Yeah.
the end, she gets fucking ripped apart. It's awesome.
Amazing. I
I was like fist bumping in the theater. I was like, yes. And speaking of Ferris Bueller, there's basically a Ferris Bueller chase through the yards, which was hilarious. Them breaking through, like that was just this part of the movie. I was like cheering. I wasn't literally cheering because I didn't want to be that guy, but I was like, yes, get her. Oh man, it was awesome.
there was definitely in my theater, the majority of people were definitely being like, whoa, when like, because there's the whole horde of kids just crashing through, and every single thing that they could break through, they broke through. It's like, it reminds me of like a Jackie Chan movie, all the glass that gets broken, where, it's like every
Yeah,
moment someone's getting thrown through glass. And that last minute, or the last like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, feels like that, where like it's like a stampede, right? They're breaking down the side fence for someone's house, they're
yeah,
tearing up the garden. And then the funny thing, when you get to see it from the perspective of the guy walking through everything later, um after he's out of his trance, he's walking through to find his kid, you realize just how much of a mess they actually made, just from like the garden is all torn up somehow, and like like it's not just that they threw themselves through the walls, like they actually like everything's just a total disaster.
yeah. And there's like that family in the house that I forget what the line was, but there was like a funny laugh line in
Yeah,
there too.
the lady's like, honey, they're talking about like how are we ever gonna clean all this up, honey? Like there's glass all over the place. And then she goes, honey, there's a guy in our living room. And as the guy's walking through, yeah, yeah. Another bit of the kind of awe, kind of like you're in awe for a moment, and it's like shock humor in a way. Not really shock humor, I guess, but it's funny because it's so shocking in a way, right? Like
Hmm.
the whole ending. It reminds me kind of like how The Substance, that final act, was so over the top and funny and weird, right? And this kind of has a similar turn once the kids start chasing her. Even when like she doesn't have her wig and she's like running around and she's like ah, and she has like a weird face looking, and yeah. So
Yeah,
I feel like a cool way to end it.
yeah. It's like a big maximalist, like over the top thing that is so. Yeah. It's so I don't know. It's so over the top that you're cheering, you're laughing, and I don't know. I was just fully in. The movie did such a good job, like sucking me into the story, and I hated this literal witch, so much that to see these kids rip her limb from limb was like a real catharsis at the end of the movie.
Yeah, it was. And then like seeing the aftermath was like when he comes over and he sees the kids and they're just covered in blood. I mean, we got to see it from their perspective. She's getting ripped apart. There's blood spewing everywhere.
Yeah.
I couldn't actually tell for a minute. I thought the kids were eating her because there was earlier on she mentions that she can make the parents eat each other. So I thought that he was making the kids eat her. But obviously that wasn't what was happening. They were just literally ripping her limb by limb.
Yeah, and I think they
Insane.
rip her like skull in half. Like they rip her
Yeah.
top
Oh,
jaw
I forgot about
off.
that.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
Crazy. Crazy.
They should have
Um,
like ripped out her skull like Predator and like held her like spine up, their spinal cord or whatever.
that would have been
Like,
insane.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is such a cathartic ending. But then the ending is like a coda or whatever. The denouement is a little more somber, where it's like, some of the kids still haven't spoken and stuff like that.
Yeah, the parents are institutionalized.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think I heard that, I don't know how accurate this is. I think I heard that Zach Cregger has said he may have an idea for a sequel,
Yes, I
which
did hear this.
um,
Or
I,
I think that he said he has an idea for something else in the world, in this universe. So I don't know where my head went, and I don't know why. So this could just be like my brain, but I'm thinking it could be a prequel where we see the witch again. Kind of
oh,
like we follow more of the witch, because I think doing doing a sequel, I'm not sure how connected it could really be. You know?
I mean, I think you could do something with the kid, like in the future, because he knows how to
Oh, you're
like
right.
do the
That's true.
stuff. So is he using it for good? Is he using it for evil? Does he have? I mean, I don't know, some like Blade type. I don't know. I don't know if Blade's the right comparison, but like, because it's vampires, but he has to like kill some witches that are. He has
Yeah,
to use his powers for good, or maybe he turns to the dark side. He starts using it for evil or something. I don't know.
yeah. Here we go. Ready? I'm gonna pitch it. All right. There's the kind of a similar setup where it's like, you know, at 2:15 and 2:17 in the morning, a whole a whole group of elderly women go missing, right? And then the whole movie's about trying to figure out what happened, but it turns out they were all witches, and that slowly gets revealed, and it's the guy. He went out there and he took care of him, you know.
He's hunting down witches.
Yeah, using witchcraft, which
Yeah,
kind of makes him a witch, but
yeah, exactly. That's what I was pitching.
but I said it too, so
Yeah, but I would 100% be down for whatever he wants to do, a
yeah,
sequel, a prequel, whatever. I'm not a big prequel guy in general. Um, Revenge of the Sith is okay, but other than that, I'm just kidding. But yeah, prequels in general, like I usually am less interested in, just because obviously
very
we know
new.
where it's gonna end up, and I don't know. I feel like it's harder to make. I don't know what's the best prequel that's ever been made. I wonder off the top of my head. I feel like most of them aren't that good. Maybe Furiosa. Furiosa was pretty good, but it's
Yeah,
still,
that's true.
yeah. Still, I didn't like Furiosa as much as I liked Fury Road.
Yeah, I guess the question of what are good prequels. I think there's some that are good, but are there any that are better? Because there's some sequels that are better than the
Right.
original. But are there any prequels? I would say probably. Just guessing, I'm gonna say no. But
Yeah, it's hard to think. I mean, I guess like Godfather Part Two is a sequel and a prequel because there's like the flashback element, but that's different. That's a different thing.
yeah, yeah, and again, like yeah, I mean, I guess that begs the question also, like what really qualifies as a prequel, right?
I
Um,
don't think. I think Godfather Part Two is more of a sequel with
yeah,
extended flashbacks,
yeah,
but
I would agree.
um, but yeah,
But so also this movie has the different perspectives thing that works really well.
oh
One of
yeah,
the reasons for that is because one thing I noticed is every perspective sees things slightly differently. And I thought that was just really neat. And that's part of the reason why I was thinking of it'd be fun to rewatch this and try to see more of those details that are slightly different, because you're really seeing when it hit me, I realized I'm really seeing it through their perspective. I'm not just seeing this part of the movie, following this character. I'm actually seeing what they're thinking, right? There's one part where she's on the phone with the principal, it's kind of a brief phone call, but then when you hear it from his perspective, he's like, it's like a pretty lengthy. He's super annoyed because it's like a pretty drawn out phone call for the same thing, because it is the same thing, right? And there's one time when Justine is in the bar and he comes in to meet her, and in her perspective, he comes right on over and he's like, you know, he's right there with her, but then in his perspective, she like gets up and meets him at the door essentially and stuff.
Oh,
So
good
there's these
point.
small little differences in the way that the people perceive what happened. Um, that makes like it feels so real too, right? Like I'm sure that like, you know, if you watched my life through, or if you watch today through my perspective and you watch it through your perspective and both of our partners' perspectives, like there'd be little things that we would all think were slightly different, right?
Yeah, right.
And it tells you a little bit more about also the interactions of those characters, right? Like the reason that she thinks that phone call is kind of short is because she is annoyed that nothing's happening, right? And the reason that he thinks it's kind of long is because he's like, Jesus, lady, like, come on, I get
Yeah,
it, you know.
yeah,
And the reason he interprets it as like her meeting him at the door is because he feels like she is really eager for him or something, right? And kind of vice versa, maybe the other way too. But so I
okay.
think those are really cool. And that's kind of why I'm like so almost like itching to rewatch it to see if like even more of that stuff is obvious after the rewatch, you know?
Nice. Yeah, that is great. That's a great point. I didn't. I now that you mention about the bar, I do remember that. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that did happen. But in when I was watching the movie, I wasn't exactly putting all that together.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
think it
yeah,
was I think it was actually the phone call scene that hit me when it was him on the phone. I was like, geez, this is way longer than it was before. And then the bar scene or whatever, whichever one happened first, it
yeah,
hit me. And then I was like, oh, that's cool. There must be more of this, you know?
mm,
But
yeah, cool. That is pretty awesome. That's definitely a benefit of like, yeah. I think the movie has a lot of depth going on in a lot of different ways. So yeah,
yeah, I mean, definitely. I think the movie also just has a lot of like themes of like obviously grief and trauma and um yeah, I think a lot of people I've seen like talking about an analog to like a school shooting potentially, you know, like all these kids go missing and all the parents are dealing with that grief and there's blame being thrown around.
yeah.
Um
And there's the in the dream, Josh Brolin's dream sequence. There's the whatever assault rifle above the house,
yeah.
which could be a connection
Yeah, the
to that
weapon.
interpretation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I guess the kids are the weapons, right?
Yeah, which is interesting though because they're never really the only time they're actually used as a weapon is when they kill her.
Right, but she uses
The
the
parents.
principal as a weapon.
Yep. And the parents and the cop and
Hmm.
uh, the guy that the
Josh
cop
Brolin.
arrested. Yeah. Um,
Wait, oh yeah, yeah, the drug addict. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And
James.
James. So she uses like everyone else, but it's funny because the kids are all just in the basement. And I think obviously because she's like feeding off of them, I guess, like their youth. And so I guess maybe she like doesn't want to risk that, right? Like she doesn't really care if the parents get it fucked up or whatever. And the cop, she just barely took control of the cop, so who cares, right? But um, yeah, so
Yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah. I think that is yeah. I think the school shooting interpretation is definitely valid. You know what I mean? Like people can interpret however they want. I've
Yeah,
also seen people mention like drug addiction and substance abuse as being like a theme of the movie. Obviously, James is like a drug addict and he does, he commits crimes to, get, pawn off stolen things to get drugs and he lives in the woods. And I think we see him, I think he's smoking crack
yeah,
at one point in the movie. But also like I've seen this wasn't something I thought of, but I've seen it somewhere online of uh that the kid growing I think Alex is his name. Yeah. The one leftover kid, his two parents being in this sort of trance state is sort of like growing up in it's like and also, well, it's like he's growing up in an abusive or maybe like
right.
an alcoholic or substance abuse household where he has like a secret that he can't tell anyone else, and like his parent, he has to take care of his parents, and stuff like that, and I think that also could make sense to where Gladys is like a stand-in for addiction, perhaps, and she's sort of sucking the lifeblood out of these people for herself, you know. Uh, so I think that is also a valid interpretation. But yeah,
Yeah.
just like grief in general, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's also like I think there's the other point that's making, even if it's not an interpretation, maybe it's just like the false security of suburbia, right? Which like
Hmm.
I think this is like kind of a theme that we've seen kind of with the what's that movie? Veritasium. Um
No
uh
idea what that.
the one with Jesse Eisenberg not too long ago.
Oh, Vivarium.
But yeah, sorry, yeah, Bavaria. Um and I think there's a few other like kind of semi recent things that kind of pull in this idea
Oh, even
of
like Halloween.
yeah, well, of course, right? Like the maybe the pinnacle uh pinnacle one, right?
Seminal.
Yeah, the seminal one. Thanks. Um, for this, and so I think that's another thing that you can see here. And the other one that I uh kind of was thinking a little bit about, probably because I had just seen the movie The Home not too long ago, the Pete Davidson one. Um, and that movie has this theme very strongly, and I think this one a little bit too is of like the older generation kind of taking and taking and taking, so that the younger generation doesn't really have, right, and making it harder and more difficult and all these things. So I don't know if it's really something I particularly read into, but I can definitely see that as an interpretation as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that makes sense as well. I also on the sort of alcoholism thing, uh, like Paul is in what he's, I think he's in AA, and he's like a recovering alcoholic, and then Justine sort of like, well, I mean, I don't know, either Justine pressures him into it, or he succumbs to drinking and like he cheats on his girlfriend. He did what he also does a lot of fucked up things throughout the movie, but also like Justine really turns to alcohol to cope with this like insane situation where she's basically the victim of a witch hunt, ironically, because the town doesn't know. uh they have to blame someone, and
Right.
so she becomes the target of like harassment, and uh Archer, played by Josh Brolin, is like the seemingly like a very loud voice in harassing her. So that's kind of a separate thing. But my point was that I thought it was, I really liked the aspect of the movie showing her using alcohol to cope with that and how it's like unhealthy, and the ways she was acting so, uh, I guess, I don't know if irrational or like,
She was affected definitely by those choices, right? Like the
yeah,
way she was acting was not
she makes a lot of bad choices in the
right.
movie. She follows the kid home. She like goes, you know, like she's watching them, and that's such a creepy scene with the scissors when she comes out in the car, and she's like putting booze in her like big gulp cup while she's
Yeah.
sitting behind the wheel of her car. She's, I mean, even just sleeping, you know, getting sleeping with her ex who has like his own good new girlfriend now. Like there are just a lot of things she does that are really bad choices. But I loved how, and the same goes for Archer, where at the beginning of the movie you're like, oh my god, this guy's an asshole. Like, and in a lot of ways he is an asshole, and like his kid's a bully. You know, I don't know, he is an asshole in a lot of ways, but you also can empathize with him because of what he's going through, and that ultimately he does just want to find something, you know, find his kid and figure out what's happened. So and at the beginning of the movie you're like, oh, Justine, this is our main character, we're seeing it from her perspective, we are totally pretty much completely on her side, but she continues to do worse things. And then Archer, we're completely against him, and we slowly learn to empathize with him. And I just thought those characters being so three-dimensional was really a strong suit of the movie.
Yeah, and I think even to a lesser extent, but still there is with the cop and the drug addict. I think you see a little bit of kind of learning more about them, obviously, as you take their perspective. And uh, I think one thing that's really interesting that this movie does really well is just that all the characters, like you said, we learn about them and we kind of feel differently about them during the movie, but pretty much they're all very flawed too, right? They feel very real and authentic in that way. Um, and it's not like anyone's just like you know, the Ed and Lorraine Warden people, like they're just perfect people that can do all the things correctly in the movie to solve the problem. Like everyone is flawed in this, and that all boils down to a pretty, and I think that helps it boil down to a pretty climactic ending where they're all together in that house, and it feels like they're all obviously actually against each other. Um, and then obviously Justine has to shoot them, which was kind of also, she had to shoot that guy. That sucked.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, but well, also the best people in the movie are probably Marcus and his husband. I mean, even then, I guess you could be like, I think Marcus is probably the most like morally upstanding person in the movie. Like he's trying his best. He has this lose-lose situation. There's no good way to go about it. He's just trying to ease tensions, basically. And like, you see him and his husband at home and they have the hot dogs, the 7 hot dogs, which is a reference to a
Hilarious.
whitest kids sketch.
Oh, that makes
There's
sense.
yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
But it's a lot of hot dogs. 7 hot dogs, it's a lot of hot dogs. Uh but they have like a very nice, like they're wearing like almost match they're wearing matching or like couple t-shirts.
Yeah,
They're
the
which is
Walt
like
Disney World ones.
yeah, I guess. Yeah. I think they're like pretty much the same, but it's like his and hers type of a situation. Uh but yeah, like they just seem like nice people. They're like having their lunch, they're watching like a nature documentary, they're chilling, and then they get absolutely fucked up, like in the
Yeah,
most awful way. And one of the scariest, or it is one of the scariest scenes in the movie, is when Marcus is chasing uh Justine through like at the gas station and all that, and also when he kills his husband. Just that whole scene is so creepy. But my point was that those are like the best people in the movie, and they're like horrifically murdered, and awful things happen to them, and the kids too. The kids are mostly innocent. I guess Josh Brolin's kid is kind of an asshole, but like they're
yeah,
children at the end of the day, and they also are victims in this like horrible situation.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And like you said, right? Like even though some of the kids are jerks, they're all still kids, right? Like they get a lot more freedom in that world of learning and growing than we can give to, you know,
Yeah.
other characters. But
And Alex in particular is also like seems like a really good kid, and just has this like horrible situation that he has to go through.
yeah, man. Yeah, and the analogy there of like you were saying about potentially being in like a traumatic household or like a household of abusive parents or drunk parents or whatever feels very like I can definitely see that as a way to look at that piece of the movie, especially where like he's going to school and he's very quiet and he's kind of sneaking away and all this stuff, right? And yeah, so but he's definitely kind of one of the most morally sound characters. I mean, he's doing all the stuff. He's a kid, right? He's doing all the stuff that he thinks he thinks he should. I don't know.
Yeah, but I love that the movie, like even when characters do bad things in different ways, you understand where they're coming from, and like you still are able to empathize with them on a human level, like to some degree.
Yeah,
And I think that's just good filmmaking.
definitely. Yeah, it's not like um, it's not like none of the characters are just bad people, right? It's just that
Oh,
they have these flaws because of are you gonna say the
On
yeah
Gladys, she's
yeah
pretty
well,
evil. But even
also
on Gladys, you could say fear of aging and death is probably driving her to do these awful things.
yeah, but still like even ignoring Gladys for now, at least, right? Like most of the characters, you can definitely see the choices, the bad things they do, the bad choices they make. It's like, yeah, I mean, this is a shitty situation, right? Like, would I have done the same thing? Probably not, right? But like, yeah, that like people are going to cope differently, and like they're all in this pretty shit situation. But also, speaking of Gladys, by the way, Amy Madigan, Amy Madigan,
Yeah.
the
Yep.
actress,
Yep.
fantastic. How fucking creepy.
Yeah. That wig. Oh my God. What a wig. And the makeup and
Insane.
everything. Yeah. Really incredible performance.
And of course, with the jump scares, before we really know anything about her, um, not that I particularly love jump scares, but I think these were used mostly effectively, where you get pieces of the answer, earlier on. And I think she's just such a creepy looking lady when she wants to be, and then she did really good at drawing in that air of authenticity to her character.
Yeah. Absolutely. She was great. Really, just a really great villain.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, I think the movie like walks a real tightrope really well of having all this depth, but also being so entertaining, and it just like crushes it. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it reminds me of things like, I don't think Together was quite this good, but we talked a little about Together in the last episode, where I mentioned that it has some not just horrific pieces, but some entertaining pieces. Um, and in a similar vein, like The Substance, that was a little less recent, but still very new to our minds. I think we're in this like era of horror that I hope we see to continue, where we get these kind of really thematic and really deep movies that are also just sheerly entertaining, and I think people that don't even love horror can go into, even if, as long as they're okay with like a jump scare here or there or some body horror, right? And I those are kind of hard things to sell at times, but I think um, it does open up horror to, I think, a wider audience.
yeah. And then this movie, I think like people who aren't into horror movies could get into probably like there's some creepy stuff in the basement. Obviously, the scene where she's asleep in the car with the scissors, that's very tense. The only really like well, I mean his he smashes it. Yeah, he does smash his. All right, it's not for the faint of heart, I
Yeah,
guess. But also, super creepy part of the movie is when she uses like the vegetable peeler on his face at toward the end. Yeah, that was rough. Oh,
yeah,
also really hilarious when Josh Brolin. I think it was Josh Brolin and James and he kept like throwing him, and he would be like down for a second, and he'd get back up, and it
yeah,
happened like 5 times, just to the point where it was just funny.
yeah.
Um, but I think it's not like I don't know. I mean, if you're an adult, you should be able to handle this movie.
Yeah, I agree. I know that some people, I think, thinking of like body horror, I'm thinking more of like The Substance and Together, where they have a little bit more stuff that I think not everyone could necessarily handle. But
Yeah, I get it. Some people are sensitive. I shouldn't paint a broad brush. Some I get it.
well, I mean, also like, I do think it's also good for people to try to step out of those comfort zones. Also, I think often, by the way, I think that when we close our eyes and we try to hide ourselves from what's happening, we actually imagine scarier things than what's actually happening. So like, I think I think I'm just gonna say, I think that one reason I think that people don't like horror is because they go into it, they try to close their eyes, they don't want to see the scary thing, and then they're actually more scared because what they imagine is happening is actually worse. And a lot of movies actually build off that, right? They have cute music cues that are scarier than that's actually happening on screen, right? And so, well, whatever. But
That's the whole thing with Jaws. It, like, don't show it, right? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So,
I see what you mean. But also, vegetable peeler to the face, pretty creepy, pretty scary. Wouldn't
yeah,
want
that
that to happen
sounds.
to me. Yeah.
I wouldn't
Uh,
mind. I would.
that's your kink. You gotta peel my skin off. That's the only way I can nut. Anyway,
Anyways, um, one thing I want to bring up real quick is also the voiceover. What are your thoughts on the voiceover? Well, we get the voiceover at the beginning, at the very beginning, and the very end, and we don't know who's saying it. It's not like a obvious thing.
yeah, it just seems to be like a kid maybe from the school. I
Yeah,
think. I liked it. I didn't have a problem with it.
nice. I liked it a lot. I feel like it kind of gives the movie like a folk
Mm,
thing, where it feels like it's like someone's telling the story, right? And like,
yeah,
in a way, the idea of like there's this creepy house with the newspapers on the windows, right? And it's the only kid who didn't go missing in the, and then it's like, yeah, like people, like even as a kid, like, walking down the street, there's like a creepy house, and everyone's like, oh, that's like the creepy house with like the woman that's there is creepy and stuff, and it's like no one really knows what's going on, but everyone talks, right? And that like folk aspect, right? Like that's a real like folk horror that I think most kids actually interact with, is like the idea that the creepy house is creepy, right? And there's a creepy person living there and there's bad stuff going on. And so I think the idea of that in the movie itself, where there's this house with the newspapers and all this stuff, but then also it actually feels like the movie's kind of capstone by telling you that it's actually, this is just someone telling the story, right?
Yeah, and it also adds to the perspective element of the movie where this is also a story from a perspective. And I mean, it's funny, it starts off saying, this is a true story that happened in my town. And it's funny, Zach Cregger was just on the Blank Check podcast for Fargo, another movie that at the beginning of the movie says this is a true story, and it's not a true story at all, but they just lie.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
But yeah, I think that definitely works. Did you have any like issues with like plot holes or anything like that? There was one thing in particular that kind of bothered me, and the second thing that I just thought was a little far fetched after the fact, but it didn't bother me during the movie. The maybe I'll just the second thing that I didn't really think of till afterwards is that these kids were gone for like a month, right? And so you're telling me Alex went and bought like 1,000 cans of soup? That's a lot of soup. No one had any questions for this little kid buying so much soup. That that was one thing. It didn't really. I didn't think of that during the movie though. But during the movie, I was like, Josh Brolin's idea with the ring cameras is like the first thing you'd think of. Like the fact that it took them so long to do that, and the fact that even like the cops didn't even do it. It was just him. I mean, I guess you could say it's like, oh, the police are so incompetent that they didn't think to do this, but I would think that's just so obvious that you would do it immediately.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's actually the one thing that I think the movie kind of that did drag the movie down a little bit for me, is these things, right? Because there's also the fact that these kids are running through how many yards, right? You see them running through everyone's yard, and you're telling me none of these people had, none of them saw this, none of them had a dog that barked, or maybe there's whatever, but like none of them had at least two of the kids in the room. So 2 out of 17 people in this town have a ring camera, right? So you're telling me that none of the other people that these kids run through their yards like have a ring camera, and they can be like, hey, yeah, I saw the kid on my ring camera run that way. Like there's never any of that brought up. And yeah, I totally agree with the like, what the hell was this investigation actually? What did it actually encompass? Because it seemed like even like when they went and they visited and they talked to Alex, and of course they explained it with Gladys like having the kids go run away for a bit, but like that was a little silly to me. I was like, really? They clean up the entire place. It looks like trash. The parents
Yeah.
never talk the whole time the police are there, and they have like they clearly have like makeup on to make it look like they're what's really hiding the scars, but nobody knows, right? But um and all this stuff, and like the cops are like, yeah, sure, whatever, like that's totally normal. Um and then like nobody ever goes and checks again on Alex. Like I feel like at some point, yeah, like this kid should be having like weekly meetings or something with like uh someone that goes to the house to be like, hey, we just wanted to see how the family's doing. It's a tough time, especially because the last time that anyone went there, the parents didn't talk at all. The parents
Yeah.
that like
She said I think she said the dad had a stroke, and then what was the mom there as well? I think the mom was like
yeah,
wasn't there.
I think she wasn't there that when he was talking to the police. Yeah, but
Yeah.
but yeah, and then it's like I don't. So that felt a little weird. It's like, come on, like I don't understand what the police actually did.
They didn't do shit. That was, I mean, but also, I mean, maybe you can excuse these things of this is a story being told,
Yeah,
these perspectives, how accurate is all of this? But I mean,
that's true.
if you're going to bring up the ring cameras to be like right at the beginning of the movie, like just connecting the dots of where they all ran to would be so obvious to do immediately
Yeah,
that it's a little like ridiculous. Like, I don't know. I don't know. But that was just a thing that bothered me in the movie. Yeah.
I definitely agree. And I didn't actually think about the Kansas soup thing, but that's true. The other things that I thought not that these were necessarily even plot holes, just that I don't think I understood is she takes Justine's hair and nothing ever happens with that.
Yeah, she never actually possesses Justine,
Yeah,
does she, right? No.
no. Which, like, I guess, yeah, it's just, it makes for a creepy moment. And, like, I guess, yeah, maybe she wants all the hair she can get so she can control. But it feels like when, like, she has the police guy, call Justine and the Andrew, no, Archer into the house, right? He waves them in. And it's like, if you're going to do that, might as well just use the hair you have to take control of her, too. You know, like,
That's a good point.
that felt weird. And then the other thing, when Alex wrapped her wig around and broke it, he didn't control her. He controlled the kids. And I didn't understand what that was all about. I liked it. I mean, it was a great way to end the movie because it was awesome. But I thought he was going to take control of her and then
So
didn't.
I believe, hold on, maybe I'm putting this together. I believe you use the person's like, how do I just like if you have their hair or like
Mm-hmm.
an object and you break it, you can target that person.
Right.
Because doesn't she end up, she has Justine's hair, and doesn't she end up with something from Archer as well? And that's how she sicks like James and Paul onto them at the end of the movie.
Oh.
Like she like
Yeah,
is
no, you're right. Because then she gets the ribbon from the principal, and that's how she
right.
makes. Oh wait, no, because then see, so she takes control of him with the ribbon.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's some magical different. You put a frog leg in one soup and you put witches,
Wait,
I don't know,
yeah, no,
human in the other.
I think you're right because I think she breaks it, take control of him, and then she had taken the husband's hair a second ago. She puts that on, and then she puts Justine's hair and breaks it again. I remember now, and
Yeah.
then that is how he goes after it. And then I guess what happened at the end is he pulled that random stick out. It must have been the stick that she had to control the kids. And so when he put her hair on there and broke it, the kids were controlled to go attack her because
Right.
it was already the stick for the kids or
Right.
something. I
Yeah,
guess that makes sense.
makes
I
sense to me. It's all
dang,
supernatural
I'm,
witchcraft gobbledygook.
I'm over here hating on that and actually made some sense. But um, the last like plot thing that I didn't really care for too much is I liked the dream sequences. I thought they were cool, but I just didn't understand why the witch was appearing in them. Uh, it's like in 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 the world, you would think that like she's not making that happen. Why would she? Right? So is her
Mhm.
presence in the town just so it's like I mean maybe that's what it is. Like maybe the presence of the witch is just infecting people's dreams, but I don't know. I felt like I was like I mean, I get the point of it in the storytelling perspective to have there be those jump scares and those pieces of information that you're learning and questioning who is that, right? But I was kind of like, but did I need that?
Mm.
Or not even did I need that, but just why was that happening?
Why? Because he has never like the
Yeah,
dream is Josh Brolin's dream, and he's never interacted with the witch. He doesn't know that she's a witch at all. So uh why would he doesn't know her at all, so how could she be in his dream?
yeah. I don't think he's ever seen her. Like why would he? So
Yeah,
I was confused on that, but
that's true.
also
I
I will
think
say, sorry, go ahead if you have
no,
something to
no,
add to
no.
that.
Good, no, go.
I was just say that all these little plot things that I had some issues with, ultimately they really didn't deter the movie very much. Like it is still just such a well-made movie and it's so effective at what it's doing that I'm able to put those to the side and still accept that it's just a really good experience. But yeah,
Yeah, I felt the same way. It didn't like get too much in the way of my enjoyment of the movie, and like the themes, the characters, the filmmaking. It's also good that like little stuff like that doesn't bother me that much. Um, and I thought an interesting comparison for this would was Long Legs, because they're both movies that start out well, they in the second half they turn supernatural,
right.
and I think Long Legs didn't really work for me. I really liked the first like half of Long Legs. Obviously it was like very heavily inspired by Silence of the Lambs, to the point where it was like maybe too much, but still it was like really well made and tense, and I thought I was interested in it. And then once it went toward a supernatural direction, which I don't think that's a spoiler for Long Legs. I think it's fine, but sorry if I spoiled Long Legs for anyone. I won't say too much about it, but my point is like the supernatural angle of Long Legs kind of came out of nowhere for me and didn't feel like part of a piece of what was going on in the whole movie. But I think in Weapons, they do such a good job. Like just the kids running with their arms out, like Naruto's run, is so weird. And just the fact they all go at once, it's
Yeah,
all
it's
at the same
uncanny.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's uncanny. It's unexplainable. So you're like, okay, maybe there is something supernatural or, witchy, whatever going on, because there's really no other way to explain it. So once we get to the end and we're fully in witch land, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm in. Like you set it up perfectly to where this can be like a valid explanation within the logic of the movie. And I think Longlegs was just an example of a movie where that didn't work for me because it didn't like set it up properly for me, maybe.
Yeah, I think I feel exactly the same because when I saw Longlegs, I liked the build up. I thought there's a lot of cool stuff going on. I also thought it was obviously very inspired. And I enjoyed that first half, and then the second half did fall flat because again, yeah, I wasn't expecting it. It didn't feel like it wanted to be supernatural. It didn't feel like that was like a natural thing for the movie to do. Um, and here, yeah, the uncanny walk, even the dreams where you have the little appearances, it almost feels kind of like conjuring and stuff. It's like things that you would see in that type of haunting movie and stuff. And so you kind of maybe expect that there's some supernatural stuff going on. Um, and and either way, it gives you a really really compelling mystery that you like really want to find solved. And I feel like Longlegs was compelling enough, but like I think this mystery was just more exciting, more interesting, more yeah, I think it was just better put together maybe.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, it definitely seems like a personal movie for Zach Cregger, and I think it turned out just really great. One of the best movies of the year. I was super happy to I'm glad we could talk in depth about it.
Yeah, me too. This it's one that I really wanted to see early on. I had like it was on my high list of movies to see for the year. After I started seeing the teasers and stuff, um and then I was traveling for a while. I wasn't able to see it right away, and I'm real happy that I did end up going out to see it, and that it was as good as probably better than I expected it could have been. So definitely
Nice.
quite a way to finish off the summer. I mean, it's pretty much the end of the summer. Yeah. What a banger.
That's fucked up. It's already the end of the summer.
I know.
Fucked up.
Also, real quick, Zach Cregger, part of Whitest Kids You Know, and Akiva Schrafer, part of The Lonely Island. I just wanted to point out that it's kind of interesting that for our generation, there's these people that kind of, when we were really young, were doing stuff kind of on the verge of on the burgeoning parts of the internet, right? YouTube at the time and stuff like that. That now we're actually making really powerful and strong, competently made movies, and I just think that's kind of neat. So I'm excited to see who else maybe comes into that.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd describe Naked Gun as powerful. Funny for sure. I don't know if it was as powerful as
I'll never forget about those cheese dogs.
the chili dogs. Make you shit your pants.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's a powerful
Man,
ingrained memory.
that's a fair point. How many episodes will I reference shitting my pants?
Too many.
You're right.
Actually, we've already hit that.
All right, great. I love just beating a bit into the ground. So
listen, if the horse isn't dead yet, keep hitting.
Yeah. Also, I've been thinking for the podcast. I've been maybe going less with notes and trying to be a little more conversational in the podcast.
Yeah.
So, and it kind of worked out because like I didn't take notes in the theater, and actually I was gonna see this a second time, but then like personal stuff happened and I wasn't able to make it to the second showing that I wanted to go to. But because I wanted to see it in IMAX, but I didn't the first time. But anyway, didn't work
Yeah.
out. But yeah, I don't know why I brought that up like while we're recording the podcast, but that's just something to note, I guess.
No, I mean, I think it is good to bring up during the podcast because it's something that I think I've also kind of subconsciously been doing the past couple episodes, partly because I've been traveling. And so it's not as convenient to like take notes, and it's easier just to kind of think and talk through it. Um, but also, like, even for this one, I have less than a page written down, and most of that is really just like facts. Like, I have the budget, I have stuff like that.
Hmm.
And just a couple of small little things just so I don't forget to bring it up. But it is interesting. I mean, I think to me it feels more conversational. And while we're still talking to people, if you guys have you guys noticed the difference in that at all? If so, do you like that?
Yeah, I think I was like using the notes a little like I'm trying to get everything out, but then it was coming like I was more just waiting to talk rather than having a conversation. And I think that the more conversational aspect is better. And if I forget to mention a thing, I was like, oh, I wanted to mention whatever XYZ. Uh, it's not that big of a deal as long as it's a better conversation. So that's
I
where
agree.
my head is at from now on. I still have like the IMDb and the letterboxed up just so I can like have the cast and all that kind of stuff. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. I mean,
cool.
I think that to me it feels like a good transition, and hopefully people are feeling that way too. Um,
Cool.
but
I guess
but we're
that's
just out
that.
here. Yeah, we're just out here making stuff. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying it. You know what to
Yeah.
do if you are enjoying it. Follow us on those places. Keep watching. Right, share it around with people. People are talking about weapons, right? And if you think that we had some interesting stuff to say about it, send
Oh,
us their way. Yeah.
yeah. And you know what's funny? I just mentioned, oh man, I forgot to mention something. I wanted to mention the 217 thing about weapons. So it's at 217. And if you look in the Bible, well, also, Archer's kid is named Matthew. And Matthew 217 in the Bible does have something about like sacrificing kids.
Whoa. For
And
what?
I'm gonna pull it up right now.
Okay.
Hold on,
Okay.
just give me 2 seconds. Matthew 217. So
Bible study.
uh, uh, then what was said? Oh wait, hold on. Uh, well, it's kind of just a random verse within
The
something
greater
to.
context.
It's within like escaping Egypt, and there's like killing children.
Yeah. Part of the
Maybe,
yeah. Okay. I know
but
there's a point in biblical myth where every kid that's under like 2 or something has to get sacrificed for I don't remember why, but it
yeah,
is
that
is that am I my Bible
that's
study is actually coming in?
that's this part where like Herod is gives the order to kill all boys in Bethlehem, uh,
Yes.
2 years old and under. We're all supposed to be killed. That's actually Matthew 2:16. At least in this is like the new international version. There's like a bunch of different translations of the Bible, maybe, but I think the verses are pretty similar.
Yeah.
And then
Interesting. So
yeah,
yeah, that too. Yeah.
so that is what that's about. But then also Genesis 2:17, the very first one, the beginning of the book.
The
Uh,
Genesis.
but yeah, uh, says I have the quote. But you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it, you will certainly die. Which is obviously in the
Ooh.
Garden of Eden. The devil is, whatever. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It's like the a giant thing, right? And Aunt Gladys has a tree, and she takes the trees and she has the branches, and she snaps the branches to control people. And so I don't know if that's just coincidence. I feel like it can't be. Like, I don't know. The kid's named Matthew. There's the tree. I even noticed the tree in the movie. I was like, oh, tree. It's like I
Yeah.
even. But then I looked up the verse and I was like, oh shit! It's actually like that's that part of the book.
That's interesting. Yeah, I would not have put that together. I'm not very good at like Bible verses. I know a decent bit about biblical myth just from uh that learning, I guess, at one point, but like
Pretty influential book, like the most
yeah.
influential book, pretty much. But yeah,
Yeah, certainly the most printed book of all time.
yeah, yeah.
Um and but I don't know, like I know a lot of people are like they know their verses, and I
Yeah, right. Obviously, I'm not
yeah.
pulling the. I had the app up. I was
Yeah.
looking at it and everything. Uh, but yeah, I thought those were interesting nuggets to. Not that I have like some full, essay about how it relates to whatever the Bible or the devil or whatever. I don't know. But I just thought that was something to bring up. Kind of cool.
Yeah, very cool. Awesome.
All
Um
right, that's where we can end the episode.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, y'all know, find us. We're not the most well published book of all time, but
We're
anyways,
not the word of God.
we're not the
Yeah.
word of God. Um, but we are the word
Yeah,
of
the two
mighty
of us.
movies. So.
Yeah. And next week we're talking Cats and War of the Worlds. Most of the time we're like, hey guys, watch the movies before you watch the episode. This is probably an episode you can probably just listen to and enjoy whether you've seen the movies or not. And then the week after we'll have something fun cooked up. So yeah, keep an eye out, subscribe on YouTube, the podcast platforms, and yeah, thank you for watching and listening. We appreciate it. And don't forget to mind your movies.